alaikum students, this is Ayesha Azhar and you are watching my channel O Level Islamiat by Ayesha Azhar. In my previous lecture I have explained about the main two themes of Hadith and I explained what are do's and don'ts to attempt A and B part. We have also done that what are the questions of part A and part B. Now coming to Hadith number 1. Now how to attempt Hadith we have already done. Now what is the difference and between A and B part in detail we were going to discuss in this along with Hadith numbers. So beginning with Hadith number 1, in previous lecture I have explained you the difference between individual and communal theme. In individual theme I told you that Hadith which gives benefit to an individual, not to the community, is individual theme. That is rights and responsibility of an individual. But if Hadith gives benefit to the community as well, then definitely it will be a communal theme. Sometimes you will feel that few hadiths are overlapping each other and that hadith could be individual or it could be communal theme, but in most cases you will find that hadith is basically individual. Now starting with hadith number 1, I will explain you that which hadith is individual and which is communal. Starting from hadith number 1, if you go through from the translation which says that religion is sincerity, we said to whom? The Prophet ﷺ said to Allah, his book, his messenger, the leader of Muslims, and to their common people. Now over here if you can see in this hadith, importance of sincerity is explained. Now when you are saying sincerity, the sincerity is basically gives benefit first of all to an individual, that this sort of sincerity I mean, like if we are showing sincerity towards Allah, the eventual benefit will go to us only, to an individual only. Same is the case with his books, his messenger, and the leader of Muslims, and to the common people. So this individual, how? Because it highlights the articles of faith most importantly. So if we believe in article of faith with sincerity, this will give benefit to us. As in my previous lecture I already told you that if hadith is about pillars or articles, so that definitely it will an individual hadith, because it gives benefit to us. So this hadith explains the articles of faith, sincerity towards article of faith. In my explanation over here I've written belief. You can write a part as a main teaching. Even if you write main teachings, then too it's fine. So main teaching of this hadith is that it highlights, see I told you that how to begin your statement, it highlights, it explains. So I begin this hadith, that this hadith highlights the importance of belief in the articles of faith. That means to believe in these articles with full sincerity. And sincerity how? Towards Allah, which means that to believe that Allah is only one and he does not have any partner, and we should not associate partner with him. Now over here I have not written should in this, but I am explaining you. Yaha I have written that he does not, that means a sincere individual does not associate partner with Allah. It also tells us to believe that Prophet ﷺ is the last messenger of Allah and there is no prophet after him. So this will be our sincerity towards Allah's messenger. When we say that to a sincerity towards messenger, so when we follow sunnah and forbid evil, that means we are following him and we are showing sincerity even towards Prophet ﷺ and his last, and as a belief that he is the last messenger. Over here I have given one reference. Then I have explained that it also explains or tells us that we must be sincere in things we believed in the things we do. For instance, that we must live our life according to the instructions of Allah by being an obedient Muslims and by being a good member of the community. And sincerity towards the leader means that Muslims must help their leaders in pursuing truth, and if leader is deviating from the right path, it's the duty of an individual to set him right and to help him in pursuing the truth, that is to follow Allah and his prophets. Now coming towards the second hadith. Now first hadith was clearly about individual, there shouldn't be any confusion. It tells about the sincerity towards articles of faith, towards the leader. So leader is towards basically individual towards his leader. Okay, so he shows sincerity. The more sincere he is, the more he is he will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now I have written in part B now as previously I explained that you are supposed to give example that how Prophet ﷺ followed the teachings which he explained in part A. So over here first of all I've given general statement that Muslims should have sincerity. In B part you can use should as many time as you want to, there is no harm. So they should be sincere in their life, whatever they do. They should not only act simply for other people's, in fact they should do with the purest of their heart from their heart. It should not be done by showing to others, because only merely faith is nothing in Allah, before Allah, if we are not following his instructions or implementing his instruction with pure intentions. So but they, over here I have written that they should not act simply for others people to see what they do, but they should follow the teachings of Islam because they believe in them. That means that if you are believing in all the teachings of Islam, you are following it with your true intentions, with true heart. Prophet ﷺ, over here I have given example that he always acted upon all the aspects of faith sincerely and fulfilled all the obligations of Islam. He always asked his peoples to obey the rulers and leaders. Over here I have given reference as well. Then I have written that what should Muslims do then? So Muslims should be sincere whatever they do. They should follow the teachings of Islam, avoid extravagance. They should obey their leaders and rulers, but if they are deviating from the right path, they should be advised and admonished, and effort should be made to bring them to the right path. Over here I have written how they can implement the teachings which are explained in part A, or examples which were explained or showed by Prophet ﷺ in part B. So one thing should be clear in your mind, that in part B, in action part, you are supposed to give example from the life of Prophet ﷺ. Then you are supposed to give example from the life of Muslims, and definitely reference of hadith is also required. You can write it in between the content or at the end, depending upon your content. Alright, so it should be clear. So I am repeating that in part A you will going to write the main teachings, in part B you will going to write Prophet ﷺ example and Muslims example along with the reference of hadith, and reference of hadith is required in both parts. Now coming towards hadith number 2. Now hadith number 2 explains that none of you believes until he wants for his brother what he wants for himself. This is clear. This hadith clearly shows that this hadith is related to brotherhood. This hadith is related to the rights and responsibility of an individual towards his fellow Muslims. That means towards his community. So there shouldn't be any confusion that whether this hadith is related to community or individual, that it clearly shows that this hadith is related to community. That is showing brotherhood or develop brotherhood or fraternity among the Muslims. In part A, that is main teachings or belief, I have explained that this hadith emphasizes the importance of mutual love and compassion among the Muslims. So it teaches us to have concern for other around us. Who are others? Other Muslims. So concern for others are, is the cardinal part of our faith. When Prophet ﷺ migrated, I am just explaining because you can write this example in part B, that when we migrated, the first thing was to develop brotherhood between the Muslims. Alright, so that's why it is the cardinal part of our faith. So it instructs the believers that provision for other comes before self, as it is a sign of a true believers. Then it emphasizes that on treating each other and to ensure that others are provided properly, their basic necessities are provided. You are a source of ease for others, you are helping others by all means. Then you are supposed to write reference over here. Now action, how we can put these teachings, this part into an action. Before that, definitely whatever Prophet ﷺ has explained or said in this hadith, we have written in part A. Now how he implemented this teaching in part B, we are supposed to write by giving Prophets of example first and then our example. Starting from a general statement that Muslims should ensure that they treat the others in the same way in which they want to be treated by others. This is a general statement. Then they should be polite and show respect towards each other because it develops love. Now coming to the Prophet some example after giving this reference in which Prophet said that you cannot be a true believer unless there is a reciprocal love among you. Then when Prophet now I have given example should be in a line or two. There shouldn't be too much explanation of example, because you will definitely lose time as well, because time is very restricted. So I think, and I will advise you to give example in a line or two. So over here I have given example of brotherhood established by Prophet ﷺ right after migration to Medina, and then you are supposed to write about that how Muslims can implement this example in their life. So over here, when I've given example from the life of Prophet ﷺ, that Muhajirin and Ansars shared their belongings, especially Ansars shared their belongings with Muhajirin, and they give preference to the need of their fellow Muslims. So how Muslims can implement this teaching? So Muslims should be ready to give preference to the need of their fellow Muslims. They should help whenever the need is required. Many Muslims who suffered due to flood, earthquakes, it was even seen that many Muslims helped in this time, that is at the time of earthquake and flood. People help their fellow Muslims physically as well as monetary. Monetary means financially. Try to use good vocabulary. Try not to use repeated words. If you are using poor one time, use less fortunate. You can use needy, downtrodden. So try to use synonyms of the same words, because it will give good impression to the examiner. So yeah, over here I have given example from the life of Muslims, that is to help the fellow Muslims in times of need. It could be flood victims, earthquake victims. You can even write about the people who are facing financial difficulties, health problems, death of a family member. In that time, Muslims should support their fellow Muslims monetarily or emotionally. So you can write this example as well, because over here I've given flood and earthquake victims. Again, you can write your daily life example by that. Definitely every day we are not facing earthquake or floods, but you should give examples of like facing financial difficulties, to help fellow Muslims in times of financial difficulty through monetary help, or due to if the person is distressed due to the death of a family member, you can help him emotionally, you can console him. Please write down these examples. Coming towards hadith number 3. Now hadith number 3 is purely about your behavior, your generosity towards your neighbors, towards your guests, towards your behavior towards others, which means that let him who believe in Allah and the last day either speak good or keep silent, and let him who believe in Allah and the last day be generous to his neighbor, and let him who believe in Allah and the last day be generous to his guests. Over here when I am saying over here when the hadith is repeatedly saying that let him who believe in Allah in the last day, then again it is repeating the same word, let him who believes in Allah in the last day. This means that a true believer, a mu'min, right? You will not going to write that this hadith explains that the one who believes in Allah and the last day. No, you will going to write a true believer, a mu'min. Alright, don't rephrase this hadith by writing that it explains that the one who believes in Allah and the last day. This will be wrong. So this hadith highlights 3 important facts of our life. First, to speak wisely, to speak truth, and never hurt others with careless remarks. So we learn from this hadith that the manner of a social conduct are the part of a Muslim community, and only faith and actions are closely linked with one another. Merely faith without righteous deed is meaningless. So when you are performing good things with your true intentions, that will be a meaningful thing. But if you are having only faith and you are not showing it through your actions, it would be meaningless. So it teaches us that generosity and hospitality towards neighbor and guest, and politeness and sympathy towards other are the attributes of true believers. So over here, true believers I have written, that means that true believers means who believes in Allah and the last day. Then I ended a part with reference of hadith. Now in part B, again we will going to give example from the life of Prophet ﷺ. Then we will going to give example from our life. Over here I have given, first I have written a general statement which is also necessary. Then I have given example from the life of Prophet ﷺ, that Prophet ﷺ himself was very generous with his guest. Even once a non-Muslim was his guest, he drank all the milk, but Prophet ﷺ did not show any sign of anger, and the next morning that person accepted Islam. Now this was an example that how Prophet ﷺ implemented the teachings which he said in part A. Then Then I have given a reference. You can choose any one of these. Give food and give greeting to those you know or to those you do not know. Right. Then I have explained over here examples given. I have given example from the life of Muslim that they should be the source of comfort to his neighbors, hospitable towards his guests. They should speak in a good manner instead of being harsh with other. Now you're supposed to add few more examples that you are supposed to write it. That is, you can write that by being a source of ease for your neighbors, by sharing eatables or food items with your neighbors. You can, by not playing loud music during your night events, so that your old or sick neighbors do not get disturbed. You can write all these examples. These are the good and practical examples which could be written in part B. Alright, coming towards hadith number 4. Hadith number 4 explains the criteria of entering to paradise. Now, what this hadith actually says? This hadith says that a man asked the Messenger of Allah, may Allah bless him and give him peace, do you think that if I perform the obligatory prayers, fast in Ramadan, treat as lawful that is which is lawful, and treat as forbidden that which is forbidden, and do nothing further, I shall enter at paradise? He said yes. So what do you understand by this hadith? Is it individual or communal? If you go through from this hadith, it excuse me, it clearly says that this hadith is related to individual benefit, that if a person perform all religious obligations and abstain himself from illegal things, that means he will be a true believer and he will be entered in paradise. So this will give benefit to an individual only. It has nothing to do with the community, So this is an individual hadith. Now from this hadith we learn that the criteria of requirement for entering the paradise. It also tells us that the traditions assures that Muslims who perform all religious obligations, that is praying, fasting, or abstaining from all unlawful things, he will ensure paradise, or he will enter in paradise. This part explains about the requirement of entering the paradise. It tells us that if the Muslims perform all religious obligations like fasting in Ramadan, praying salat 5 times a day, and abstaining himself from all unlawful acts, and living one's life abiding by all lawful things and refraining from unlawful things, will ensure paradise. So what you will going to write in part B? Before that, you need to explain that Islam is an easy and simple religion. It does not overburden Muslims. So if you only perform religious obligations and you stay away from unlawful things, you will achieve paradise. If we go through from the life of Prophet ﷺ, I explained that Prophet himself was very particular about the obligatory prayer as well as lawful and unlawful. He was clearly shown us by his conduct that how to live a righteous life and how to apply the law of Allah in our practical life. He used to leave all worldly activities after the call to azan, and then Muslims should also realize that prayer is the foremost duty of a Muslim, and keeping fast in the month of Ramzan, as it teaches self-restraint. Other than this, you can give example from your fasting. Over here I've written example of your fasting can be given, that what you used to do during fasting, like you do not utter falsehood, you abstain yourself from quarreling, you try not to speak lie or do backbiting, things like that. You can give examples from your life. If you will give this, definitely you will score a better grade. Explains about the types of charity. Now this hadith clearly explains that every joint must perform charity. Every day the sun comes up. To act justly between two people is a charity. To help a man with his mount, lifting him onto it or hoisting up his belonging onto it is a charity. Now in short, this hadith explains the types of charity, and it explains that charity is not confined to money. If you are helping someone even without money through sincere advice, that is also a charity. So we come to know from this hadith that charity is an obligation on every believer, and Islam takes great care of every individual in the society. Muslims are ordered in this hadith to take care of the need of their fellow beings, and giving charity to the poor and the needy is an act of a great reward. So this hadith teaches us that it is not confined to spending wealth, rather, every act of piety is regarded as a charity. So, it further explains that charity is an act of showing concern for others and helping them by all means. Even meeting other people with a smile and pouring out from bucket into a container, enjoining good, forbidding evil, or act of charity. Over here, I have written that pouring out from bucket into his container. That means helping others, right? Helping others is also a charity. Then I have given a reference of hadith. Then in part B I have given example from the life of Prophet ﷺ and example from ourself as well. When it explains about the charity, that means charity could be anything. It could be by helping some others. Meaning over here I have given example that Prophet ﷺ was so kind and helpful even to his enemy. He helped and served the old woman who pelted him with rubbish, and Prophet ﷺ helped her. He so charitable person, how he helped her. He washed her utensil when he come to know that she is ill. He helped her, he helped her, he cooked food for her. He clean all the house, and the very next day that woman accepted Islam because of his behavior and conduct. So he was a charitable person as well. Once Prophet ﷺ said or asked Aisha, "O Aisha, do not turn away the poor without giving, although it be a piece of date." So by following examples, Muslims should be charitable and try to help others as much as they can, like by giving money, through their kind words, or removing things from the road which can be caused of pain for others. You can write over here, you can give examples by giving sincere advice even. So if you give sincere advice to others, that is also a form of a generosity. So this is it for today. Today I have explained about first 5 hadiths. This is all for today. I have explained first 5 hadiths. In my next lecture I will explain next 5. So I'll make a set of 4 hadiths in 4 sets. There will be 5 hadiths in each. So keep watching my channel. Do like and subscribe my channel. Don't forget to press bell icon button, and if you have any problem regarding hadith or any other topic, you can write it in the comment section, and you can communicate with me. So take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.